Go.
Good day, ma'am. We are the reporter of Peak 15. A social issue. Agrarian reform in the Philippines. Next, please. Learning outcomes. Discuss the evolution of the agrarian reform in the Philippines. Second, propose the solution to the agrarian issues in the Philippines. Next, please. Policies and agrarian reform land ownership in the Philippines under the Spain. Agrarian reform is the rectification of the whole system of agriculture. So, ang agrarian reform ay ang pagwawasto ng buong sistema ng agrikultura. Ito rin ay tumutukoy sa muling pamamahagi ng mga lupain o anumang mga pananim o prutas na ginawa o itinanim ng mga magsasaka at mga regular na manggagawang bukid na walang lupa. Anuman ang tenorial arrangement at katayuan sa ekonomiya ng mga benepisyaryo. Sa pamamagitan ng tunay at komprehensitibong reformang agraryo, magagawa ng Pilipinas na makakuha ng sa higit, higit pa mula
Sige,
sa
sige.
potensyal nitong
Tawag yung
agrikultura
tawag
at
yung
iangat
batiklinan.
ang
Klase
mga
kami kadali.
Pilipino sa
Okay na.
sektor ng agrikultura sa pama sa sa, pa, sa pinakamahabang panahon nakatambay sa kahirapan at kawalang kasiyahan. So, ang agri reform is about kung giunsa pag kaning hati-hati ang mga lupain or lupa or giunsa pag-manage ang mga laborers or mga magsasaka. So, land ownership in the Philippines under Spain. When the Spaniard colonized the country, they brought them with a system which is Pueblo, Pueblo Encomedia and Hacienda system. So first is Pueblo agriculture. We are Pueblo agriculture organized into a Pueblo and given land to cultivate. Ang pueblo ay isang sistema kung saan ang mga pama, katutubong pamayanan sa kanayunan ay isinaayos ng pueblo at ang bawat Kristiyanong katutubong pamilya ay binibigyan ng 4 o 5 hektarya ng lupa upang payamanin. Ang Pueblo agriculture ay nagsagawa ng no sharecropper class o landless class. This serves as their colonial tributes to the Spanish authorities in the form of agricultural product. So ang Pueblo agriculture is kaning every Filipino or every katutubong pamilya or native families is ginatagaan sila og kaning pila ka hectare o 4 to 5 hectares para ilang ilang ipalago, ilang i-manage para tapos mo na ilang tributes good bali mo na ilahang mo na ilang pamaagi sa kaning ay mo na ilang tributes to Spanish authorities to reform the agriculture product. So next page. Encomienda system. An unfair and abusive system as compras y bandalas become the norm of the Filipino farmer. They were made to sell their products or surrender their product at a very low price to encomenderos and sell this at a profit. So, ang encomienda system ay isang hindi patas at mapang-ambusong sistema bilang ang compras y bandalas ay sa Tagalog is mga pagbili at paninira. Ang naging pantayan ng Pilipinong magsasaka, ginawa silang ibenta ang kanilang mga produkto o isuko ang kanilang produkto sa pinakamababang presyo sa mga encomenderos at muling ibenta ito sa isang sa malaking tubo. So ang encomendera is bali magbaligya sila pero low price kaning markdown tapos paliton sa mga Spaniard tapos kaning ibaligya po nila nga dako ang presyo. Dako po nila ang tubo na mailaha. Mo na ang encomendera system. Next is hacienda system. Hacienda system developed as a new form of ownership. Lands were claimed and registered with people's names. This time, it was that was developed in 1860s. Spain enacted a law in ordering landholder or register their land holdings, and only those who know benefited from this. So, ana na time is katong kung kinsa lang tong nakabalo na, pwede na dahil mag-register o ilang yuta, pwede na nila ipangalan sa ilaha. Mora pud to ang nakarehistro kayo, ang uban wala man nakabalo, so luoy kayo sila. Ang mga lupain ay inangkin at inirehistro sa kanilang mga pangalan ng mga tao. At maaaring mga kapamilyang magsasaka na nakatalaga sa lupain na kanilang mga unang araw ng kolonisasyon ay itinaboy o pinaliit na sumailalim sa kapangyarihan ng mga taong ito na ang angkin ng mga karapatan. So at this anak na time sa mga hacienda system is siyempre kaning nakarehistro naman ang mga ilang pangalan na nakabalo na sila kung kinsa ni nayuta. So ang katong wala na rehistro tong wala kabalo nga pwede na magrehistro sa ng pangalan is luwi kay sila kay ginadaog-daog lang sila kay tungod kay katong antang iya sa lupa is kabalo man sila na dili sila mapahawa, dili sila makuan kay ilahan na mo tong yuta na naman sila titulo. So next please. Land ownership in the Philippines under the Americans. Okay. The Americans were aware that the main cause of social unrest in the Philippines is the landlessness, and they attempt to put an end to this. So, after sa Spain, so mga American naman po nagsakop sa to, so, kabalo na jud ang mga American na sa, dari jud, una jud ang kagubot sa Pilipinas is about sa yuta. So, ano to the Philippine Bill of 1902 provided regulation in disposal of public lands. Alexand. So, ang Philippine Bill ay nagbigay ng mga regulasyon sa pagtatapon ng mga pamulikong lupain. Tapos, pinatibay rin ng Komisyon ng Pilipinas ng Act No. 1996 o Land Registration Act na nagsimula sa torrent system upang tugunan ang kawalan ng mga naunang talaan ng inisyon mga title ng lupa at magsagawa ng tumpak ng mga survey. So para nag-atema ng mga Amerikana na iayos gud ang about sa issue sa lupa. So nanato ang Bill 1902 tapos gipatibay pa jud siya sa Act number 4906 kanang Act number 4906 is usabon nila ang baliwalaon nila tong visa atong di ba na parehistro naman tong sa Spain na parehistro sila. Abot diri sa Amerika is walaon na to. Tanggalon to mga titles isunog to kaning ipawalang visa na to tapos ilang sunod buhatan is mag-survey sila kung kinsa jud tong taiya atong yuta. Kung kinsa jud ang land owner ato na yuta. Next please. Land ownership did not improve during the Americans period. In fact, it even worsened because there is no limit the size of land holding people can possess. And and the accessibility of position was limited to those who can afford to buy, register, and acquire fixed property titles. So, no, bisag, during that American is mas ni worst pa jud kaayo kay ay wala mo gyud limit sa isa ka tawo, pwede siya magtaiya og pila ka hectares, pila ka dako na yuta. It's because kay the more ka dako na yuta, dako imong yuta or the more nga daghan kay kag yuta, daghan kay gina-owner yuta is mo mura kag mo kang powerful, mahimo kang it's because kay na ang mga magsasaka during that time is magtrabaho man jud sila para lang makakaon. If a landless peasant farm received the land, he will only receive the land, nothing more. Many were forced to return to tenancy, and wealthy people hastened their purchase or forcibly took over lands from farmers who cannot afford to pay their debt. So, marami ang napilitang ibalik o ay bumalik sa pangungupahan at mayaman ang mga Pilipino hasyendero ay pinilit na kinuha ang anumang lupang ng mga magsasaka na hindi kanilang bayaran ang kanilang mga utang. So kay ship so ana na time is pwede ka mo pwede ka mag-own og yuta pero yuta lang walay tanom. So unsaon man nimo ng yuta kung walay tanom? So ang mga fertilizer ang si tawag gali nakalimot ko. Ang ganay mga binhi or kanay usa pa binhi or sige mo to binhi kay mahal mo na during that time. So ang ubang na magsasaka is ginauli na lang nila ang ay ano na sila kaning gibaligya na lang nila yung ilang yuta na na earn tapos mubalik na lang sila pagka tenant good kanang ikaw lang mag manage sa yuta pero dili imuha. It's because mao man gyapon good kung ilang gyapon tong ipanatili tong yuta is wala man gyapon sila mabuhat kay wala man sila kwarta ipalit og kaning mga similya og kaning fertilizer. So kato mga dato kayo tong daghan na kay yuta so hayahay kay sila kay ilan na lang tong paliton tong yuta tapos ibayad sa utang atong magsasaka. Kay nga na ang inaana ng paagi sa una. So, during the years of Commonwealth government, the situation further worsened. A peasant uprising increased and landlords land relationship become more disparate. President Quezon created the National Rice Corn Corporation to assign public defenders to assist peasant in court battles for their rights to the land. And in the Court of Industrial Relations to exercise jurisdiction over disagreement arising from the landowner's tenant relationship. The home the homestead program also continued through the National Land Settlement Administration efforts toward the agrarian reform by the Commonwealth field because of many problems such as allocation for the settlement program and widespread peasant uprising. So during sa time ni Pangulong Quezon, so nag-ano siya nag-declare siya og National Rice and Corn Corporation na magtalaga ng publikong tagapagtanggol upang tulungan ang mga magsasaka sa mga laban sa korte para sa kanilang mga karapatan sa lupain at ang hukuman ng industrial relation upang mag-ehersisyo sa jurisdiction sa mga hindi nagkakasundo nag, na nagmumula sa may-ari ng lupa hanggang sa nangungupahang relasyon. So, moto during ni Pangulong Quezon is para ma-lessen ang iyahang ang samok about sa yuta is moto siya talaga siyang nationalized and corporation. So, pas mari gina-process nila gina-process nila the gina-process nila kaning by sa korte go nagato sa korte kung kinsa man jud ay para samok man gud kayo ang tag-iya sa yuta ug ang kaning magsasaka kaning nakigamit lang sa yuta or nang renta lang sa yuta mo nang gusto niya na masettle ang ilang relasyon walay samok nga na so para masettle na is kailangan nila mo ato sa kailangan nilang muadto sa court para maayos. So, pero wala ra gyapon na siya napadayon is because wala na yung budget. Wala na yung budget ang gobyerno. So, anam jud per wala yung budget. So, wala yung budget ang gobyerno. So, mao to siya na stop lang gihapon to siya. Wala gyapon napadayon. So, mao lang. Next reporter please.
Madungog ko.
Yes po.
Post-war intervention towards agrarian reform. Our, per- our first president in line is President Manuel A. Rojas. During his administration, the rehabilitation and rebuilding after the war focused on providing solutions prob- to the problems of the past. The next slide, please. The administration of President Rojas passed Republic Act number 34 to establish a 70 to 30 sharing arrangement between tenant and landlord, respectively, which reduced the interest of landowners' loans to tenants at 6% or less. So the 70% of harvest will go to the person who shouldered the expenses for planting, harvesting, and for the work animals. The government also attempted to redistribute hacienda lands, falling prey to the woes of similar attempts since no support was given to small farmers who were given lands. Next slide, please. Under the term of President Elpidio Quirino, Land Settlement Development Corporation, or known as SEDECO, was established to accelerate and expand the resettlement program for peasants. Peasants is a poor farmer of low social status who owns or rents a small piece of land for cultivation. Next slide, please. Under the term of President Ramon F. Magsaysay, the LASIDICO became the National Resettlement and Rehabilitation Administration, or NARA. Magsaysay saw the importance of pursuing genuine land reform program and convinced Congress, majority of which are landed elites, to pass legislation improve to improve land reform situation. Republic Act number 1199, Agricultural Tenancy Act, was passed to govern the relationship between landholders and tenants farmers, protecting the tenurial rights of tenants and enforce tenancy practices. Court of Agricultural Relation in 1955 is to improve tenancy security, fix land rentals of tenanted farms, and resolve land disputes filed by the landowners and peasants organization. The Agricultural Tenancy Commission was also established to administer problems created by tenancy. The Agricultural Credit and Cooperative Financing, or ACFA, was also created mainly to provide warehouse facilities and assist farmers in marketing their products. During President Magsaysay administration, the administration spearheaded by the establishment of the Agricultural and Industrial Bank to provide easier terms in applying for homestead and other farmlands. NARA accelerated the government's resettlement program and distribution of agricultural lands to landless tenants and farmers. The Hukbalahap, or known as Hukbundayan Laban sa Hapon, is also aimed to convince members of the Hawks or a movement rebels in Luzon to settlement in areas where they they can restart lives as a peaceful citizen. Despite a more vigorous effort toward agrarian reform, the situation of the situation for the farmers remained dire since the government lacked funds and provided inadequate support services for the programs, and the landed elites did not fully cooperate and criticize the program. So let us proceed to the next president in line, President Diosdado Macapagal. During his administration, a major stride in land reform arrived during his term through the Agricultural Land Reform Code, Republic Act No. 3844. Republic Act No. 3844, or Agricultural Land Reform Code, it is advancement of land reform in the Philippines that was established in 1963 under President Diosdado Macapagal. Next slide. Section 2, the Philippines renounces war as an instrument of national policy, adopts the generally accepted principle of international law as part of the law of the land, and adheres to the policy of peace, equality, justice, freedom, cooperation, and amity with all nations. So we can say land reform it is abolishing a leasehold system in which farmers will pay fixed rental to landlord rather than a percentage of harvest. Mo lang.
So, agrarian reform efforts under Marcos. Agrarian reform efforts under Marcos president declared martial law in 1972, enabling him to essentially wipe out the lander-dominated Congress. So the highlights of agrarian reform under Marcos is the Decree number 27, which confiscated rice or corn, lands over 7 hectares, by mar and give it to the qualified tenants of the landowner. Through his technocrats means is a form of government or an expert. He was able to expand executive power to start a fundamental restructuring of government. Fundamental restructuring to change the way it is organized, usually in order to make it work effectively, including its effort is in solving the deep structural problems of the countryside. 27, or the Code of Agrarian Reform of the Philippines, became the core of agrarian reform during Marcos' regime. Next, please. The primary source of Presidential Decree number 27. Next, please. In dated September 22, 1972, as amended, do hereby decree and order the emancipation of all tenants farmer as of this day, October 21, 1972, this shall apply to tenant farmer of private agricultural lands and primarily devoted to rice and corn under a system of sharecrop, or less tenancy. Either it they are classified as landed state or not. The tenant farmer, whether in land classified as landed estate or not, shall be deemed owner of a portion constituting a family-sized farm of 5 hectares, if not irrigated. Irrigated means to supply crops and lands. If not irrigated, they give 3 hectares if irrigated. In all cases, the landowner may retain an area of more than 7 hectares if such landowner is cultivating such area or will cultivate it. For the purpose of determining the cost of the land to be transferred to the tenant farmer pursuant to this degree, the value of the land shall be equivalent of 2.5 times the average harvest of 3 normal crops in a year, immediately preceding the promulgation of this decree. So the total cost of land, including the interest of the rate of 6% centum or annum, shall be paid by the tenants in 15. Next, please. So in 15 years, 15 equal annual amortization. In case of default, amortization due shall be paid by a farmers cooperative in which the defaulting tenant's farmer is a member, with the cooperative having a right of recourse against him. The government shall guarantee such amortization with shares of stock in government owned by the government controlled corporation. If no title, the land owned by the tenant's farmer under the degree shall be actually issued to the tenant farmer unless and until the tenant farmer has become a full-fledged member of a duly recognized farmer cooperative. So dili daw maangkon sa isa ka tao sa isa ka farmer ang kana nga title or rights if dili siya mahimong member sa isa ka organization. Title to land acquired pursuant to this degree or the land reform program of the government shall not be transferable except by heredity, succession, or to the government in accordance with the provision of the degree. The Code of Agrarian Reform and other existing laws and regulations, the Department of Agrarian Reform, through its secretary, is hereby empowered to promulgate rules and regulations for the implementation of decree. Next, next please. So, under the Rice Lead Sufficiency Program or the Masagana 99, farmers will able to borrow money from banks and purchase 3 hectares plot of land and agricultural inputs. So sa under daw sa program na masagana, ang mga farmers daw kay able nga mohiram og kwarta sa bangko para mo purchase og tag 3 hectares nga land and agricultural. However, the landlords class still find ways to circumvent the law. So ang landlord daw kay dili manangita daw siya og way para dili mahimo o dili maangkon sa farmer ang ilahang ang yuta. Because only rice land were the focus of agrarian reform. Some landlords only needed to cage crop to be exempted from the program. Land work by wage labor was also exempted from the program. So, kung isa daw ka sa kanang miyembro sa masagana or apil ka ana na organization, exempted po daw ka sa kanang wage labor. So, the landed elite only had to evict their tenants and hired work instead. So kaning masagana nagapili pud siya or siya ang nagaalaw nga mupili kung kinsa lang pwede nga mupuyo ana nga or himuon nga tenant ana nga kuan um kana nga yuta. Many other methods were employed by the elites to find way to maintain their power and ordinance, which was worse by the corruption of Marcos and his cronies who were able to the involve in the agricultural sector. So daghan jud nagagamit jud og pamaagi ang elite para magpabilin siya nga kana nga murag kuan ba trono. Dili siya mailisdan. Next please.
Post-1986 Agrarian Reform. President Corazon C. Aquino in 1986 to 1922. The Constitution ratified by the Filipino people during the administration of President Corazon C. Aquino provides that under Section 21 under Article 2 that the state shall promote comprehensive rural development and agrarian reform. K. On June 10, 1988, former President Corazon C. Aquino signed into a law Republic Act No. 6657 or otherwise known as the Comprehensive Agrarian Reform Law or the CARL. The law became effective on June 15, 1988, which introduced the program with the same name Comprehensive Agrarian Reform Program or the CARP. CARP was limited because it accomplished very little during the administration of Aquino for the fact that the Congress was dominated by the landed elite who was unwilling to fund the high compensation cost of the program. So this is Ramon del Ferrero Magsaysay Sr., our 7th President of the Philippines, December 30, 1953, and March 17, 1957, ay nakapagtupad ng Public Act Number 1199 noong 1954 and Agriculture Tenancy Act and Republic Act Number 1116 noong 1954, the National Resettlement and Rehabilitation Administration or DENARA. So, na-explain naman ni Mika, sa ilalim ng termino ni Pangulong Ramon, napabilis ang pagtupad ng CARP. Upang matugunan ang 10 taon na takdang panahon, sa kabila ng mga limitasyon at paghahadlang sa pundo, logistic, pakikilahok ng mga sangkot ng mga sektor. So, this is Fidel V. Ramos, 1992 and 1998. Si Ramos pala ang ating 12th President Philippines. Nakapagtupad din siya ng Republic Act Number 8435 noong 1997, Agriculture and Fisher Modernization Act or AFMA, and Republic Act 8532 noong 1998, Agrarian Reform Fund Bill. Upang matugunan ang kulang na pondo at ang mga lumiliit na oras para sa pagtutupad ng CARP, nilagdaan ni Ramos ang Republic Act Number 8532 noong 1998 upang amedyahan ang CARL or Comprehensive Agrarian Reform Law at palawagin ang programa sa isa pang 10 taon. Carper and the Future of Agrarian Reform in the Philippines. In 2009, President Arroyo signed into Republic Act number 9700 or the Comprehensive Agrarian Reform Program extension with reform or the CARPER, the, the mandatory law that extend the deadline of 5 more years. CARP expired in 2009. CARPER is a mandatory law na nag-extend ng deadline ng CARP for 5 more years, which is from 2009 to 2014. From 2009 to 2014, Carper has distributed a total of 1 million hectares of land to 900,000 farmer beneficiary. After 27 years of land reform to the Aquino administration, 500 hectares of land remain undistributed. As of 2014, which mandate deadline ng Carper Law, nakapag-distribute sila ng 1 million hectares of land to the 900 farmer beneficiaries. The Department of Agrarian Reform, or the DAW, and the Department of Environment of the Natural Resources, or the DNR, are the government agency mandated to fulfill the CARP and CARPER. But the two agencies have proved incapable of fully achieving the goal of agrarian reform in the Philippines. So, there are two government agencies assigned na to fulfill the CARP and CARPER, which si DNR and si DAR. However, they combined effort ang two agency, they have provided to be capable fully achieving the goal of the agrarian reform in the Philippines. So, bakit? Kasi, even after duration ng Carper, there are still 500,000 hectares of agriculture land is remain undistributed until 2016. The same problem the have pledged in implementation that powerful landed elite and the infiltration duration of the Philippine government. Until then, two challenges are surmounting genuine agrarian reform in the Philippines remain but a dream of Filipino farmer who have been fight to their right and land ownership of count centuries. Ang parehong mga problema na sinalot nito, nagpapatupad ng kapangyarihan ng mga piling tao at sa hindi epektibong burokrasyon ng gobyerno ng Pilipinas. Hanggang sa dalawang nalalampasan ng mga hamon, tunay na reformang agraryo sa Pilipinas ay nanatili. Ngunit, isang parang mga Pilipinong magsasaka na naging ipaglaban ang kanilang karapatan sa pagmay-ari ng lupa sa loob ng maraming siglo. So, what is the purpose of agrarian reform? Ano nga ba ang purpose ng agrarian reform? Can you answer, guys, sa purpose sa agrarian reform? Wala.
Para ma-settle ang mga yuta.
Okay. So, the purpose of agrarian reform is to goal are to provide land ownership, equality in terms of income and opportunity. Yes, tama to. Mong empower and landowner beneficiary to have equitable land ownership, enhance agriculture production and productivity, provide employment to more agriculture workers, and put at the end conflict regarding land ownership. That's all. Thank you.